Welcome back to Bit About Crypto. I'm David James, the BTC Recruiter, and you can find me at the BTC Recruiter on Twitter. And I am a BTC Recruiter, and I'm here once again with my host, Dave Hampton, the Robo Recruiter.
How's it going?
It's going well.
Yeah.
We're back in Vegas again.
Yep.
Vegas has opened up.
It has.
I mean,
definitely.
Yeah, they're talking about masks. They're talking about another shutdown, but no one's cooperating.
Yeah, I mean, I would say 1 in 10 people are wearing masks right now.
Yeah, and those are the employees.
Right.
Right. It's like some of the hotels or restaurants established. They've got a corporate policy worldwide. If you work for us, you've got to wear a mask.
It's very interesting. The government said, "Hey, we're going to shut you down. You guys can't work." And then now they're saying, "Hey, you guys can have your own choice about whether you want to put a mask on."
Right.
It's a paradox, right?
You heard me say it in the beginning.
Super contradictory.
Everybody you should get a mask that says the following: everybody's entitled to their own adventure. And that's how you want to come to work. Come to work. If you want to stay and hide under a rock because you're afraid, you can't tell somebody they can't earn a living. Well, clearly they can.
Well, I mean,
and that's what I love about
the preamble would say, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, right?
Well, no, that's why I rest so well at night is because I know that all my tax dollars go to take care of me. If something happens to me, my lifestyle won't be affected even in the least because I've got the government taking care of me. So why would I not listen to people like Elizabeth Warren or AOC about my health?
I don't know. Sounds like you're being sarcastic there.
Oh, no. Sarcasm is a crime punishable by 6 months in prison in North Korea.
Oh, yeah?
No, I wasn't joking. Yeah. So anyhow, welcome everybody to A Bit About Crypto. And this show is for anybody who's either looking to learn more about crypto or who wants a job in the blockchain crypto space. And the wonderful thing about what this show is turning out to be is we have so many different voices, and there's this entire world being built around us that people are actually creating these new things. And I learned so much. I mean, every guest I have on, I learn a new thing. And I want to say thank you to everybody who actually has made a comment. And if you really want to support the show, you can actually subscribe, or you can, and of course, hit the like button and leave a comment. I just want to say that anybody in the comment section that says they're me or Dave Hampton over here and says, "Hey, call us on Telegram and we've got this great program to getting rich," it's not us. They're scammers. We will never call you and ask you for money under any circumstances except one. What's that, Dave?
Unless you're looking to hire us to find you some good people.
Yeah, and that's and we don't necessarily just want money. We want money and tokens. We're very flexible. We don't want to break you if you just got your A round funding. We'd rather light a candle than
we're very open and receptive to many forms of payment.
And I was telling my guest who's coming on today, I was telling him that, look, I'll give advice for free. I'll strategize with you. I'll give you hours. I'll be on your board of directors. But when it comes time where you say, okay, put a bullet in the gun and go find me a carcass, well, that's when I'm going to need some money or some type of remuneration for...
You said carcass? Because carcass would mean that they're dead. So
yeah, but I just haven't found a better word yet. So interesting enough, and thank you for everybody who's following the show. We bring in different alternatives as far as cryptocurrencies. I mean, we had a guest who was talking about mapping the entire world and selling it digitally.
Yeah.
Right. We've had people from Colombia who came to the United States and found out that after getting a 4.0 GPA, they qualified for a job at Starbucks, working for the person who didn't go to college, right? Because they got 4 years of work experience and not $100,000 in debt.
Right. It's interesting because I would say that in the 80s, you needed a bachelor's degree to get ahead, right? I would say maybe that's stretched into the 90s, but I would say it's now you need a master's, right, and PhD maybe these days. But even then, you're overpaying. You're like the debt that you gain from that. If you get me started on this, my guest won't even be able to talk today. So we're going to have that's going to be another show. But anyhow, I was at a global DeFi conference, and I met a gentleman, and he was telling me some fascinating things on what he's doing. And he said he made a comment. He says, I still kind of don't even understand what crypto is, but the truth is, I've been designing crypto way before it was even cool. And I'm going to bring him in. Instead of going into his background, I'm going to let him talk about himself. So I would like at this time to introduce serial entrepreneur
tech head extraordinaire, Michael Holdmann.
Hey, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. How are you?
Yeah, closer. Yeah. Yeah, so what's going on today?
You know, getting through the heat here in Vegas on the way to the studio, and really excited about coming out and having a discussion with you guys. This is we're a local Las Vegas entity, and
well, hold on a second. Since you
really
brought it up,
interested.
we were told under no circumstances to talk about the heat. But since you brought it up, David, it's hot.
Not as hot as it was.
No, it's not. It's not really hot at all. It's really nice. Thank you, Travis.
No problem.
Yep.
Anyhow, yeah. So, you really are and really have been very excited about this project you're working on. But before we get to it, let's talk about you.
Okay.
Right. So, where you born? Where'd you grow up? High school, college, all that stuff.
yeah. So, born and raised in Wisconsin, in the southern half, down by Racine and just south of Milwaukee. And in '79, moved out here to Las Vegas. Actually, it started in Pahrump, and that lasted about 2 months. And
Your family came to Pahrump.
yeah,
Was your dad a prison guard?
no, he was actually worked for a telephone company for Ma Bell.
What
And
was that prison
Ma
out
Bell.
there in
Nevada
Chile?
Bell was
Yo
out
communication, huh?
there. Yeah, yeah.
Was that prison that I drive by in Jean, Nevada? Was that there when you moved out?
Gosh, I think it just opened up, if I'm not mistaken.
Every time I drive into Vegas and I see that prison in Jean,
Yeah.
Nevada, I always say, I would not want to do time in there because I don't think air conditioning is the highest priority.
Yeah, yeah. well, they have to be now. You know, it's a little more civil.
Yeah,
I guess,
but I
when
would
you're
just,
in there.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
and there's nothing cruel about prison. Anyhow, so okay, so your dad was working for the phone company and you moved to Pahrump.
Yeah. That's where Ma Bell was. They didn't have a Ma Bell. Nevada Bell was not here in Las Vegas. It was actually Centel out of Chicago.
Okay,
So, yeah.
and you guys lived in Pahrump.
Lived in Pahrump for about 2 months. Went to Pahrump High School, and
So for those of you who are listening or aren't familiar with Nevada, Pahrump is right there on the state line where Whiskey Pete's and
no, that's Prim. So
Pahrump
is
right.
yeah.
Take this from the guy who lives in San Diego.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
Pahrump is north of. I guess it's north or west or exactly northwest maybe of Las Vegas. I'm not sure exactly what the direction is.
Towards
Okay.
Reno?
It's going north, yeah, towards California, basically.
Okay.
All right. So you're just loving life in the tribe of Pahrump.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. And then Pops finally decided, no, this is too small of a town for us coming from Milwaukee.
Right.
So we moved into Vegas and went, started high school. Started here as in a sophomore. So
Okay, so you're a sophomore in Las Vegas, and what type of things are you into at the time? Sports, tech, metal. You're a metalhead.
Yeah.
That's right. Talk about that. Yeah, you lost your hearing, right? 'Cause-
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting. I was, my hearing, I can't hear specific or many things, right? The highs, the pitch isn't really there. And I had a friend that worked at Cisco up in San Jose, and he had hearing aids. And I'm like, what do you need those for? And he goes, well, it's genetic. But what it is it's either, there's two ways this happens, either by loud noises or genetic. So I went in and got checked out. And
Your genetics were fine.
Yeah, my genetics were fine. But it turns out that I could hear everything. I was at the hearing goes from 0 to 100, 0 being good and 100 bad, and from 0 to 1600 hertz, I'm at a 20, and then it drops down to 80 immediately. And it's basically because I was at most concerts at the Aladdin Theater Performing Arts from 1979, 80 through the early 90s.
Were you one of those dudes that hangs out right by the speaker?
Yeah, so that's what it was. We were in the section, I think it was 101 or 103, row 13, and my friend, his pops had connections at the Aladdin and such, so we just filled up almost all of row 13. That's when the Marshalls, the stacks were going across the windows there, which it's a different configuration now in the Aladdin.
Right.
You'd see Ted Nugent, Humble Pie, and Judas Priest, and all these
No.
just 110, 120 dB shows.
Cat scratch fever.
Yeah,
right? School's out for the summer.
I just want to just digress here. I went to an Electric Light Orchestra concert, right? And
Nice.
I was born in '64, right? And I looked around, and everybody is rocking to Electric Light with Jeff Lynne.
Yep.
And I'm looking around the Forum in Los Angeles.
Right.
It's like 3 years ago. and everybody has gray hair, ponytails, some of them, but gray hair. And I'm 50 at the time. I'm 54 years old, and I'm the youngest guy in the room.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
You know, rockers, we have that, right?
Yeah,
because you know we were born with that generation, and you know.
Well, it's kind of getting scary now because, like, you know, Guns N' Roses at the Allegiant Stadium in August. The Stones are going to be I just don't know if I want to go see them at the age that they are, right?
My dad asked me to go see the Stones. I'm like,
yeah.
dude, that guy's like 80, man. Can he even like walk around and stuff? I mean,
Yeah,
They're there, but they're not quite. You know, it's more of a nostalgia thing.
yeah, I get that.
Time.
I mean,
yeah. For me, it's not that thing. I go to bed at 9. Okay, and I don't want to be crowded at a concert, right? Because you know I'm at the age where I'm not allowed to fight, but everyone bumping into me.
you can still fight. You just may not be able to.
No,
Yeah,
well, no, I just can't fight that well.
I mean,
That's right.
Yeah.
My efficacy has waned. So, but anyhow, no, I obviously we could go a long time with you, Michael. So, you got into metal, right? And so okay. So, did music or metal did that drive you to like what your first vocation was? Any type of thing like that?
Well, it kind of stemmed from just my upbringing and such, and in a
Your dad
Catholic
being-
family and
okay.
such, and from my mom, and then my dad being in tech. So it kind of shaped me to I guess my whole life focus has been how can I create something, and I actually had made a promise back when I was 17 to somebody that I would be wealthy, but I would only do it if it was something that benefited not just a certain sector of the world, but the whole world. So
Wow.
I've kind of been on this mission to create that underlying foundation or something that allows ubiquity and everybody to participate in a global economy without any restriction. Or anything.
So you're saying at 17, the good Catholic you are, you're on your knees, lighting a candle, promising a saint? This is what you're going to do? Or is it to just like a buddy?
Yeah, no, it was an individual, but it wasn't.
Okay. I just wanted to get the context.
Yeah, it wasn't a buddy or anything like that.
Because, you know, what I describe is like muerta, right?
Yeah,
That's like, I'm going to do this or die. And so have you had that theme that it's got to be for world good in all the aspects of the entities that you've been putting out pretty much?
Yeah, pretty much.
And you made a comment to me when we spoke when we first met. You said Michael said that he and his two partners, between the three of them, have founded, I think the word I heard was 17.
Actually, this is our 21st startup over the
Okay.
past 4 decades.
Again, I'm
between the three of us.
I'm shortchanging you. Yeah.
Not all together, right?
Yeah, right.
They were separate.
Right. So, God, I don't even know where to go from here.
What's the secret? I mean, that's a 40-year partnership. What is the secret to you guys having?
Well, actually, the partnership, yeah. So the partnership just really started in like with one of my partners. We started in two separate companies in about 2012, 2013, and that was just Dave, the CTO. And he and I were working in the IoT space, the Internet of Things space, for a while together, really going after standards bodies and implementing standards to try to battle what FANG and the large top 50 enterprises were doing, which was trying to own the entire Internet of Things and keep these walled gardens and not allowing free choice and such like that. Yeah. So we sat on different standards bodies and ran test beds within like Industrial Internet Consortium and such. And this allowed us to at least have the ability written into whether or not the company implemented that, because they're international open standards. You can choose to use or you can't. But as long as there's open standards, it means that it will work and talk to something else, right? And that's what you really try to get to.
Is open standards kind of like open source?
No, two different things.
Okay.
Yeah. So an open standard is a protocol that you follow. It's not the code itself, right? So there's protocols, and you can code it in what you want. But the open source then is the actual source code that you're doing. You can open source that and give it to the world, or you can close source it and make it as a software as a service or anything like a lot of the, like Oracle and those proprietary companies do.
And before we get into what your current vision and project is, so just in a nutshell, talk about some of the industries, in your 30 years of being a serial entrepreneur that you you touched upon.
Okay. So it kind of started out in telecommunications because
Right.
that was
'Cause
when
Dad.
child slave labor,
Mom.
right?
Yeah.
He didn't have to pay me; he just put me to work because I get a roof over my head and food. And then after that, kind of jumped into the other thing is an aquarium organization, a company here that I was one of the first employees with, and was with it called Rainbow Seascapes, and we did a lot of the aquariums and casinos and such. The last big job we did before I left was the 20,000 gallon aquarium behind the Mirage.
Mirage, that's just what I was thinking. Did you do
front
that
tank.
one?
Yeah, we did that one. Did the boats over at
And
Caesar's
just
Palace,
for
all
our
over the
audience,
Trump
if you've never been to the Mirage, you'll be checking in. Right behind, they're checking you in this massive aquarium, and it's so massive and big that somebody in a full aqua suit has to go in it to like clean it, and it's a daily occurrence.
Yeah, that used to be us. Actually, Lance or I that cleaned that.
I've met you.
Yeah, and we actually stepped in because the first one they did was a City of Atlantis underground thing, and after a year. They wanted a natural reef, so that's when we went
Okay, so you were in the aquarium business.
And then I got out of that. That's when I was going to UNLV, and then took some jobs as a bartender and such while I was going to UNLV, and then started working with a couple of individuals who owned an ad agency out in Los Angeles. That's when I kind of got into advertising and marketing, and we, in fact, it's real funny because back to rock and roll. One of the first projects that John and Jerry did was for Steve Wozniak.
Is John and Jerry your partners now?
Yeah, Jerry Klein, no. That's Dave and JR.
Okay.
But this was John and Jerry that owned the ad agency.
Oh, okay.
Their first job was was for the advertising for Wozniak's Us Festival.
Okay.
In 83 and 84.
Yeah, right.
So that was kind of, circle around there. And then just got into back into technology. Started with Quest Communications back in '99 when it was first opening up, and was able to kind of move out from there. In between that time, I was doing a few different little startup projects, and one of them I did was what would be considered now the cloud. Back then in '96, when I started DigiApp. It was actually we called it an application service provider.
Okay.
As opposed to the cloud.
ASP.
So, yep. So I was one of the first cloud guys out there, and Dave was doing the same thing. David Bieberman, my CTO, kind of on the other side of the world, right?
Right. So what makes Michael so interesting to me, Dave, is that when I talked to him about crypto in his conversation, he said he was building crypto. He was doing crypto before crypto was crypto, right? Before it was cool. And he was also inventing the cloud or applications in the cloud before we actually have it in mainstream. So that's why I said if this guy was onto these things that have taken way, how shall I say, world acceptance and adoption, I really want to hear what he's got to say about the thing he's thinking about, right? Because this is a guy who sees things quickly and moves toward them.
Right.
So I don't know how you want to weave it. You definitely have to tell us how you were into crypto and inventing crypto and making crypto, if that's accurate, before crypto was ever. Yeah, so this is the part of the show where I say, so how did crypto find you? And actually, you found it. Right. You're one of the few guests that actually found it as opposed to it finding you, correct?
So in a way, yeah, because, and Jay Moore is really the responsible one for this here. And Jay Moore is my other co-founder and CMO, or CCO. He's the Chief Collaborative Officer. But filling a CMO role right now. Jay comes out of the video gaming space, and so his largest organization that he opened was a company called Garage Games, and they built the first open gaming engine. Everything else, you always, whenever you wanted to build a video game, you had to go to the studio, use their software, and it was like $1 million to do it. That's why only the big organizations could. So they founded Garage Games, and they coined the phrase indie dev and indie gamer, and came out of the and then it built this out, and very inexpensive. But what the video game world did, and this is where this Brock Pierce is got a big footprint and understands this world well, is because those that came out of the video game, you got to imagine there have been virtual economies and virtual currencies in video games for years, right? Since there's
That's
forever.
That's how you get a sword.
Right, exactly. You buy it with the gold, right? I mean, that's why Vitalik, if I'm not mistaken, started Ethereum.
Vitalik Buterin.
Yeah, Buterin. He started Ethereum because he lost his gold in World of Warcraft or something like that, right? So that prompted him to, how can I fix? That's what I hear. Okay, you don't quote me 100% on that, but which makes sense, right? How do I protect that? And that's what the kind of the start of Ethereum was. But yeah, so that's where it comes from. It's just stemming from the understanding. And I was our chief decentralization officer, Asip Kher. He was a gentleman that actually wrote the entire Click and Buy platform in 98, 99. Click and Buy was a PayPal of Europe. It was bought by Deutsche Telekom, and of course, Deutsche Telekom ruined it, right? I mean, whenever a big company buys an innovative startup, you can pretty much guarantee it's going to go.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, exactly. And now what it is, it's just an advertising platform. So that's kind of where all that experience comes in on building the back ends and understanding how these digital economies and digital currencies kind of start to come together. And the biggest thing is the networking part of it, right? And how do we build community and how do you build trust in that currency? Well, it's easy when you're captive in a game and that's the only thing that you can use to buy that. But now you start to get into this world of crypto and how do you the reason that people use the US dollar or trust it is because they know that the government's going to make sure that it's at least worth the same when I spend it tomorrow.
Fungibility,
if I accept it today. Right.
So I didn't think I was going to go this direction with you, but I've got to ask, and you're the first guest I've had on. I've been motivated to get into this. So basically, Facebook was going to launch their own digital currency. And at first it was called Libra. And they were, from what I understand, they were shut down by several governments saying, if you do this, we're going to bring fury. Now, I can't substantiate that. I wasn't in the room when that happened, but that's what I heard. And so they parked it. This was like 2019. They were thinking of doing this, and they parked it. And now they're coming back as Diem,
right?
Which is Latin for day, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
David Hampton is my Latin expert. Because he's half Latin and he took Latin and he's Catholic and he's uber smart.
Thank you. All true.
Nice.
And the thing about it is that it just occurs to me that if that happens, then Facebook is going to be the world's largest bank overnight.
It's interesting, and
I want your opinion.
Is what it is. So I don't. That's one of the things that we really looked at in our project when we were looking at economics and how to build an economy. And they were trying to do a stable coin, like there's many out there. And those are kind of like the go-tos right now for when you start to see it drop, you'll see people move out of Bitcoin or Ethereum if they're not staked, right? Then you're just kind of there, you're stuck. But you move out and do into a USDC or something and park it there and then move back in when you see the market moving. The problem that we've always seen with those when we're looking at it is the fact that you're reliant upon an external basket of asset. And what we never understood, and we can, let's look at gold, for instance. You always want your token or your coin, your stable coin to be worth $1. So you always have to manipulate either side. Either you have to say gold is at $1 per ounce. So each ounce of gold is one token. Well, if that price of gold goes up to $10 an ounce, then the token isn't worth $10 because you need that worth $1. So what you have to do is either sell gold or add more token to the circulating supply to even it out. Now, what happens when that drops back down to $1? You either have to have enough reserves to buy more gold to get it back to that stable, because now each token is worth 10 cents, or you have to take the coin out of circulation.
Yeah, so it's this game of putting it back in and taking it out based on
and having the reserves in order to cover, and that's the biggest thing. So I think Mark Zuckerberg's play was not necessarily the central banks, but those nations and economies that the central banks don't really care about because there's not as much. And he could become a huge monetary player, financial player within if he becomes the central bank of those organizations.
The central bank of the unbanked. Right?
Exactly.
Chad, Zimbabwe, Nigeria.
Yeah.
Places that the IMF and the ECB and the
Third world
Fed
countries, essentially.
they don't care about.
Yeah, IMF will loan money to them, but and they'll put stipulations on in order to have a certain economic threshold.
Yeah, the same way the mafia will loan money. It's like, we'll just take your restaurant.
Yeah, but it takes a long time for them to get there to do it, right?
Yeah.
So, no, exactly. And it just, we kind of saw that play. We saw what they were doing, and it's just not what we're about. It's all about crypto. And I said I'm too stupid for crypto is what I say.
You did say that, but I didn't want to say that. But you said that's not what we are about. And we haven't even talked about your offering yet and who you are. So I think now's a really great time for you to, because I know about it, and you really have laid out some really great nuggets for me and my listener, and I thank you so much for that. Can you start talking about what you're working on and how we got here?
Yeah, absolutely. So back to the IoT thing, right? I sat on standards bodies across
Tell
industrial.
everybody what an IoT is.
And IoT is Internet of Things. Yeah, sorry. I get, from telecommunications and working with the government and such. There's so many acronyms thrown around. I'm really sorry if I get them. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing about us recruiters. We start as recruiters, and we're always the dumbest guy in the room until such time as we're not.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just from talking to people like you with all the subject matter knowledge. Anyhow, IoT, Internet of Things.
So the reason that we got into crypto, because before, in the beginning, Dave and I at both of our in both of our responsibilities at these standards bodies and such were like, stay away from blockchain. You can't use it for IoT. You can't have a device that's sending 1,000 data points a second to someplace and then having it take 10 minutes in order to confirm each one of those, right? It doesn't work.
And we do agree that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. So so the idea was kind of stay away from there. And then we saw some of the projects starting to come out like IOTA and such like that. And we go, okay, let's relook at this and see if there's some way here. So that's when we kind of started to look, and we wrote our first white paper in 2018. And it was just to, the original purpose of the project was to create an asset-backed currency and a marketplace so that you could sell your digital, your data from your devices if you chose to. You as a homeowner, you as a business owner actually should have control over the data that's on your devices. And if anybody's going to make revenue off of it, it shouldn't be any of the larger companies and such. It should be that are selling the data. It should be you and putting that up into a marketplace. What we found out after our initial token offering was that there was a problem with scaling of the blockchain. So it became a technology thing.
What were you writing it on?
We didn't know yet. I have a very high performance message bus that does 250,000 concurrent connections, which is unheard of, right, in internet world and such. And we could not, after doing 6 months of research and 200 pages of notes and 100,000 plus words on governance, on scaling, on consensus, on economics, just couldn't find a blockchain out there that would fit what we needed. I'm not saying blockchains are wonderful, right? And they fit the purpose that they're fitting. They do transactions, simple transactions, traceability, tracking, transfer of asset between two parties, but
transparency,
you can't do real complex.
Security,
yeah,
all
that's
that
the biggest thing, right?
All
Immutability and transparency. The discussions around centralization and decentralization are coming up now because of the larger entities coming in and being like the 21 nodes on the network, But what we did then is started to scale. I mean, so Dave Bieberman, who was the co-founder and CTO, is really the one that put the most of the emphasis behind here. Just real quick on Dave's background, he wrote WYSIWYG in 1978, which is what you see is what you get. Became the Wayne word processor. worked with Vint and Bob Kuhn, Vint Cerf and Bob Kuhn, TCP and IP, at the NIST boards in the mid 80s. And Dave is responsible for a lot of the other protocols like LPT2 and VLAN and BGP and OSPF, and you can look these up, and they're there.
And for our audience, in about 2 years, you'll understand half of these concepts.
And what all these things are is just basically what makes the TCP IP, which is the underlying protocol for the internet, work.
There we go.
I can now put video over here. I can now make calls over here. I can now write applications. Right.
Voice over internet protocol. Sorry. See, I'm doing it too.
Yeah, no, there you go. Thank
I'm
you.
so bad.
He really looked at this, and he basically went back into 6 decades of working in tech and being, in one part or another, one of the 3 of us has been involved in most innovations that have happened in technology over the past 5 decades. Whether it be in hardware, chip design, protocols.
Can you say that again for me? You guys have been involved?
Involved in one way, yeah.
Okay.
In most all innovations, right?
Okay.
Whether it be the protocol layers,
now I understand.
Chip designs, everything like that. He looked at this, and then we put this whole scaling thing together so that we could have a blockchain that actually solved the problem that everybody's trying to figure out now. How can we get to I think it's a false lead, but how can we get to the transaction rate of a Visa, right? So people can actually use this in their daily lives, and that was the whole purpose, we thought, of crypto, to create this global method of exchange for people to be able to use without having the high fees when they're doing international and such. So then what we did is we filed patents, and the reason we filed patents is because over all this time that we've been in this industry, we have had projects or ideas taken and patented ahead of us, so we didn't have the money at the time in order to defend. So
struggle is real.
That's how it works, yeah.
Yeah.
So we went ahead and jumped onto patents, and then we started to look at these smart contract things, and that's where our aha moment came.
Can you stop for a second in layman's terms and explain to the audience what a smart contract is?
Yeah, absolutely. So a smart contract is basically it's an agreement, it's a terms between 2 parties that executes based on the 2 parties fulfilling whatever the terms are of that. It's electronic, it can't be changed.
It's binary.
They say, correct. And it can't be changed, right? Or at least it's not supposed to be, but people, as you know, are hacking into smart contracts and such every once in a while. And what that does is it's kind of an autonomous referee between 2 parties, right? And the contract is sealed, and it executes, it does what it's commanded to do, whatever the command is in there, right? Whatever is written in there by the developer. This is what I have to do. I have to do this in this order. As soon as it's done, it's done. It doesn't do anything.
And for our audience, I'll just say this. If you were to bet on a betting site, right, and you were to bet that the Warriors would beat the Lakers, right, and there's a certain spread, right, the money is deposited, and then once it's decided, the switch is flipped, right? It's Lakers, they win, and the Warriors lose. Then basically, the money is transferred. So that's an idea of a smart contract, just to simplify it. Mm-hmm. But betting sites aren't at this time on a blockchain because all the betting sites are mostly illegal and offshore.
Right.
So when the Southern District of New York goes after them, they want to make sure that can't happen.
Yeah.
So anyway, so thanks for that. Okay, so smart contracts. Back to your
so smart contracts. What we figured out is that is the thing. The smart contracts are the thing that is stopping the blockchain, the underlying blockchain, from being able to truly scale to the limits of the internet. And there's a whole reason for this, but you just can't move a smart contract from one place to another place. Everything, it's deterministic. It starts, it ends.
So I think what you're saying is that one blockchain really can't talk to another blockchain.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying one shard inside of a blockchain can't talk to another shard inside of that same blockchain.
I misspeak. That's what I meant to say.
They can talk because if there's a leaders, but they can't move their data efficiently between.
Correct.
Right?
Okay, that's
so. This is where David, his first company, again out of he had out of the list of 20 before we opened this one together. His first one was in 1990, and it was to build applications for something called a PenPoint OS, and it was an operating system for tablets. The interesting thing about this operating system, it's the same exact underlying architecture that Steve Jobs used with Next Step, which was his company in his hiatus from Apple, that morphed into the Mac OS X. That it's a modified, same architecture, a little modified. And then Bill Gates, when he, the time he stole the the com from IBM when he was did SOM.
Hey, there's big money in stealing.
Yeah,
Mark
exactly.
Zuckerberg.
But that's what came up is he got the common object model, and that was what made Windows, right? And that's what moved the world from DOS, which was MS-DOS, and now we're dating ourselves. That's when you used to have to use command line in order to use a computer.
Tate, baby.
I remember
Ashton
that.
Tate.
Yeah.
I did it as a kid, yeah.
And then you could do one program at a time, and that's what it is. It's the same exact thing as a smart contract platform. It runs one program at a time. So you're always in queue. You're always waiting for the next. It's serialized, right? Mm-hmm. So what Dave did is implemented, and we've got our first proof that, yes, this can work, a first-class object model, which is that same underlying architecture as that's used to build Windows and used to build Mac OS X, and implemented it onto a blockchain.
I ordered you more water. That's why I was on the phone.
Thank you.
You got it.
That implemented on the blockchain. So now what we've created is a global operating system on a blockchain. The reason for this is to create a much easier way for consumer to be involved, a much broader market, and this is, of course, what we're talking to you about also, to throw a plug into your recruiting, right?
You can throw a plug in for me anytime.
Yeah,
right.
On the recruiting.
Hold
because,
on, wait, hold on a second. We're going to take a break right there.
Okay.
Since we're talking about recruiting, right?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, we always stop the show, since you brought it up, organically and authentically. All right? So, David, I'm a little weak. I have one search and one search only, and I'm looking for a machine learning engineer.
Machine learning engineer.
That's it. I've got no candidates, and I've got that one search.
Okay.
And I just wrote it. So you got any candidates for me? No, it's tough search.
Okay.
I bet you Michael's got a good candidate for me. So that's all I have. What do you have?
I got a smart contract blockchain senior developer role, recently written, and then also got a head of blockchain. So,
all right.
Yeah. Those are some of those are remote. One of those is remote.
I'm going to talk to somebody
one's
next
in
week who
Bay
might be
Area.
good for your head of blockchain.
Okay.
So that'll be good. We'll talk about that. So, yeah, everybody, if you're looking for a job in crypto, right? And I don't care if you're saying to yourself, well, I do X and I can't see how that's going to be related. I'm going to go back to what Southwest says. Southwest says we hire for attitude and we train to aptitude. Right. And pretty much there's going to be two kinds of people, those that are actually working in the blockchain space and those are figuring out, hey, what happened? The bus left. Right. This is the way of the world.
The interesting thing about Southwest is that they I don't know if you guys know this, but they took their playbook and they imitated it, copied it verbatim from PSA, Pacific Southwest Airlines. Right.
Interesting.
They were based out of California and Southwest started in Texas, and back then it was deregulated, right? Back in 78, 79. So yeah, they just took they went over there, they analyzed it, they looked, they investigated. Yeah. Well,
I really appreciate my guest plugging me on that. So if you're looking for a job, or you're looking for someone who needs a job, you've got a project, you call us. What we do at Blockchain Recruiters, which makes us unique on planet Earth, is we aggregate anybody who's got crypto, blockchain, NFT, coins, ICO, any of that type of stuff, technology, full stack, any type of development that's relevant. We have a staff of people that are constantly scouring profiles on LinkedIn and various social medias, professional social medias, and we're aggregating, we're loading up our database. So when someone calls us and says, hey, do you have somebody who could work in our London office? We do. We have them. And so really, there's no one else doing this, so we're way ahead. So if you want to be in that population, you reach out to me on Twitter at the BTC Recruiter. All right. Or, of course, you can always go to, you can email me at davidj@blockchainrecruiters.net. That's net. Think about the net. You can't work without a net. So anyhow, thank you for that awkward, rude interruption, Michael. So continue.
You're very welcome. So again, to reach out, I mean, that's what we're at the point now where, one of the things that we see wrong with blockchain is you have to be a Solidity or a Rust. And if you don't know one of those two languages, if you do, you can charge the world.
Yeah, we got them.
Yeah. But if you don't know those two languages, you really don't have anything in there. We don't believe that that's where it's at. So a quick story about Garage Games. Garage Games was, that was Jay's company, the open gaming engine, right? He built a community of 250,000 developers that were using Garage Games gaming engine to build their games. It was $100. It was command line and scripts. And Unity came out, right? Well, Unity, they were charging $1,200, but they had a GUI.
Tell everybody what a GUI is.
A GUI is a graphic user interface.
That's
it's
right.
a drag and drop and such like that, right? Where you're using pictures in order to build this stuff. What basically happened is Garage Games sold for like $70 million to Barry Diller's ICA group, or IC, I can't remember the acronym, and which is a gaming company. And Unity IPO'd for like $32 billion, and it was because of ease of use. So that was really what we focused on. How can we get adoption throughout the world? And in order to do that, how can we ensure that we're not like segregating down so far that we just have a very limited pool of developers, which is also going to limit our ability to expand out and grow and businesses get attracted and such.
Right.
So the way that we approach this is to write basically a program language agnostic interface. So we don't care what programming language you write in. Of course, we have to write the interfaces for it. But your app, your classes and objects in this architecture are written in any language. So we open up the world past a Solidity or a Rust developer into anybody can write an app, and it'll work within the blockchain. So it's a true, like an operating system, right?
Okay.
And then the last thing that we looked at there, and that's what we are looking for. We are absolutely looking for developers. There's two ways. Internal. Mm-hmm. We need, we're looking for developers for for the XBOM, so they have to have experience with different programming languages. The actual blockchain is going to be written in Golang. There's a consensus and such. The CMI, which is the class manager infrastructure of the XBOM, will be written in Golang. And then I think Dave is choosing a modified Python for doing the classes and objects. So those are the specifics for the internal teams that we're going to need for developers. But then the external, we're also building a developer community, right? And this is where Jay is really jumping on. Like I said, he had 250,000 developer community working on his stuff on Garage Games. So we now need to attract those developers to come in and write the applications and write. And that's where I'm going to segue into hopefully some place that you and I are doing work again. And that's our...
Yeah, but here's what I want to say first. So this is a wonderful story, but at no time have you actually mentioned the name of your company or the name of your project. And I do you want to keep that anonymous for right now?
No, absolutely not. I'm good with it. Right.
So yeah, I want to...
He's just keeping him on pins and needle. That's for delivery.
But that's kind of like that horror.
I missed the ta-da, right?
No, it's that horror movie where you see there's 4 knives on the wall, and then the camera pans. Now there's only 3 knives on the wall, right? And Jason's out there somewhere.
It's for tantalizing effect.
Yeah, no. So, but anyhow, so talk about the name of your product. Start plugging some, and talk in just the Kleenex version, the elevator pitch on what it does.
Yeah. So the name of the company or the foundation, it's actually a formative Swiss foundation now, is Prasaga, and it's Sanskrit, and the overall definition is connected. But there was one specific that I found that was connected with everything. or results from everything. All that is connected or results from everything, which really described the two things, IoT and smart cities, all the data results and everybody's connected, same as blockchain, right? So it fit well. We are and I'm going to use Elon Musk's definition or description yesterday.
And what team does he play for? No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Use his description of what he's looking for, and it's basically what we built. We just never called it that, and he called it he's looking for a single layer blockchain. And that's exactly what we never understood. What do you mean there's layers in the blockchain, right? Why isn't everything just operating within that single layer?
Yeah, and you said to me that I don't agree with this. I'm going to quote you, and you can.
Mm-hmm.
You said when I spoke to you, I said we come on my podcast a bit about crypto. And you said I'm too stupid to understand crypto.
Yeah.
So talk about this now as it relates to what you're talking about.
Yeah. So in a single, so I guess the crypto part of it comes in to where, and that's where I am too stupid for crypto. I'm the guy that always bought the stock at the high, in 99 through 2001. It was not glory days for me. Trust me.
That's funny. My dad retired around that time, and he bought in, and he said that he lost a lot of money that time.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, the paper economy basically that was boosting during the late 90s and with Clinton and such, right?
Yeah, well, Richard Hart, right, the founder of Hex and now Pulse Chain. Richard Hart says there are only two people that make money in crypto. Only two. Those that buy and hold and exchanges. And he's absolutely right.
Right.
And the reason, I'm just going to talk about this, the reason that that Bitcoin, I think the reason that Bitcoin has been going sideways for the last several months at $30,000 is because if you were long on Bitcoin, you got wrecked. If you were short on Bitcoin, you got wrecked. So you get liquidated, right, when you're margin trading. So who has the money right now? The exchanges. So all those people are broke. So they're waiting for a new population of money to actually come through. But anyhow, I digress because I'm enjoying you so much, and we're coming up on our hour. I want to make sure that you can get it all in. So Prasaga.
Yeah. So quickly. So on Prasaga, what we did is the first approach, like I stated earlier, was to be an underlying, have an asset, have something asset backed, right? And we kind of looked at that, and then we figured out how stable coins and such don't really work. So what we're really focusing on in our mission is to deliver a method of exchange, not a store of value. And that's one of the problems that happened here. And I believe there's actually a blog where Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of the Bitcoin, or the writer of the white paper, stated that he has no way to stop this from becoming a store of value, from having the Wall Street traders take it over, right, and the traders. And that's exactly what happened. That's what happened in every crypto. So we just don't see a way in a deflationary economy that it can be used as a currency. It's very difficult to buy something of value with something that's going to increase in value more than the thing you're buying. Doesn't make sense. Why would I buy a house with Bitcoin if Bitcoin could be $150,000 tomorrow from $30,000 today?
Right.
Does not make sense for either side of the equation.
A little shout out to my lovely wife, Rita. You understand? That's why I think crypto is going to surpass the 8% that a house is going to get us.
Right.
Okay, anyhow, go ahead.
But that's the thing. You don't give that up, right? It's like when I have discussions on Twitter with some of the pumpers out there.
Are they discussions or are they spats?
No, they're kind of more spats because that's how they
we keep
approach
it real.
them,
We keep it
right?
real on the Bit About Crypto podcast show.
Yeah, and that's what they and it's like, and I ask, okay, did you buy a soda at 7-Eleven with Bitcoin? Would you have bought a soda at 7-Eleven with Bitcoin if you could have today?
Yeah.
Answer is going to be no. Right? And it always is. I never answer back on that one. And it's just because it's not that you're not able to. It's just, why would you? Why would I spend that? So it's become a store of value, which is great. It's a digital gold. It's all of those things, right? It's a very volatile one. And you would assume that at some point it's going to jump up again and then have a drop and jump up again. I don't know where it's going to end, but it's a deflationary economy. There's only 21 million. After the 21 million, you have all the Satoshis. And that's the one thing that worries me about Bitcoin is at the end, and a lot of these deflationaries, is what happens when that last Satoshi's mined. What happens when there's only transaction fees
Well,
that
it's
are
gonna
paying the
be-
miners to do the
They're
work?
being
It's gonna be-
2140.
Yeah,
so
it's
so
going to
it'd
be
irrelevant for
120
us.
years, and so
Actually, Bitcoin in 2140, and I think it's 2040 and then, or 2140, and then 2171 is when the last Satoshi will be mined. But there's so many assumptions out there. Well, the power is going to be so low by then that the transaction fee will
I'll
cover
be
the
dead.
gap.
I'll be dead. It's my kid's problem.
Yeah, it'll be 5
So-
generations probably.
What we're looking at is how can we create a currency, not a commodity. And I basically look at all these as crypto commodities. How can we create a currency that is stabilized to the productivity of the businesses and the consumers on the blockchain itself? So it almost follows a fiat type approach by utilizing something that's called the equation of exchange. And anybody can look that up on Wikipedia. And it's,
Or you can tell us the dumbed down version right now.
yeah, and what it is basically there's 4 values in this equation. It's a mathematical equation, and it's money supply, how much money is circulating in the economy, times velocity, how fast is that money being traded. And then every single blockchain in the world sees that. Fiats see the money supply in real time. They know how much circulating U.S. dollar is, but they don't see the velocity for about 90 days.
Right. And we're talking about velocity. We're talking about how fast it goes from one entity to the next.
Exactly,
Boom,
from
boom,
one
boom,
hand to the other,
Right.
right? But because it's paper, it takes a while to bring that back in, and that's why you always have the nominal and the real GDPs.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side is the price, the average price of something, and what's known as the GDP, the gross domestic product. And no blockchains see that. Smart contracts don't report what the thing was that was sold and what the average price was. And these are broad categories: steel, consumer electronics, and such like that. Well, with our blockchain, we can measure each one of those 4 values, and now we can apply a formula. And this is another thing that we're looking to hire, and these are money supply mathematicians in order to write the algorithms. We've got the base. We know M times V equals P times Q, but what are the actual algorithms that we need to do this so that we can ensure that a money supply is always just below the rate of the velocity of transactions. And that way there's always demand for the money, so there's always value to it. As soon as the money supply goes above the rate of transaction, the money starts to devalue. So ultimately, we want to become a zero inflation or near zero inflation, zero debt economy. And the focus
You're
is...
talking about we at Prasaga or
We have
as the
Prasaga.
world? Okay.
We have Prasaga, and hopefully the world adopts us.
Right.
Hey, we're a fully open, decentralized entity. So if the community at some point votes to go to a deflationary economy, there's nothing I can do about that, right? We're
Right.
giving this to you guys. Go ahead and
To the world.
use it, please.
Right.
And do with what you can.
Yeah, and commenting for our listeners as you're learning more, what the wonderful thing about decentralized blockchain is that the users actually have a vote, right? It's the truest, purest form of democracy. And so what Michael's talking about, and we've talked about this on other episodes, as he puts out his decentralized platform to the world, if there are any changes that need to be, well, all of the individual users who have nodes, I guess for lack of a better word, they get to vote on, yes, we're going this direction or we're going on the other direction, correct?
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that we don't, that doesn't work though, is a 100% pure democracy. They never work. But what does is a republic.
Yeah.
Right. And so we do understand there's governance is very important.
Way to
within
shame
here.
the host. Go on.
Well, better Michael than I, right? So,
Yeah. But what we do have is a scenario of recommendation boards. So we need to have money supply guys or women on the money supply recommendation board that is looking at it on a daily basis and making a recommendation. Either you vote for this and we change it to this and this is why, or we don't and it stays the same. There's always going to be one option or stay the same for the community to vote on.
Right.
But these are things that so the ultimate goal is to get everybody the ability to deliver everybody a global unique ID, which is based on a 256-bit string of alphanumeric random numbers. And that's your account. You will have that as your account forever. And because we got rid of smart contracts, every single asset that you own, we call them in the computer, it's an object in the computer, but it's an asset. It's your house, it's your car, it's any crypto. It could be your certificates for KYC, which is know your customer. That yes, I passed this, and now I can or an accredited investor. I have this much net worth, and I make this much a year, so I can participate in startups, right, when they come out for early stage funding and such. So anything can be there, but that's all a subset of your account. All of your health records are now, it's an object in your account. The health records aren't there. You can't put the data on the blockchain. There's too much data, but you can put a hash that shows a location of where that specific document is. And then the only way for anybody to access that, any doctor or anything, so your medical records, is if you give explicit permission. So now you start to hold everything. You have self-sovereignty.
In your mind, there have to be like, wow, this would be, what are some of like the smoothest practical applications that you said something that somebody could run their entire OEM market. We could run an entire country. You said that to me, and we are running out of time, but so speed through the...
Yeah, real quick. So the first demo that we have, and we're and anybody can reach out to us, and we can definitely show that.
Hold on a second. And how can they find you? Put up his social there, Travis. Talk about how they can get hold of you.
Okay, so it's at Prasaga Official is our social address on Twitter. That's our Telegram
and for those
channel.
Those guys who are listening on Apple and Spotify, Prasaga.
OFFICIAL, yeah, Prasaga Official.
Right.
And that's for Facebook and Telegram and Twitter. And we have a Discord channel as well and such. And then Prasaga.com, of course, is the Prasaga.com is the website. So where we're at is trying now to create enable the world to have, and we think that this is going to be a 30 to 40 year process. We don't believe that there's going to be a single currency accepted until the millennials and the Gen Zs start to get into the leadership positions in the countries, right? The ones that are used to sharing data, letting people know where they are and everything like that. Right. Until that happens, as long as we still have the leadership, there won't be that global currency, but we can still build an ecosystem to be ready for that when the change or the adoption is ready to happen. So there's, we need communities of developers, of miners and validators, because we do proof of work and proof of stake both for our consensus. And then we also need those community members and the businesses.
You segued perfect. So talk to the audience on how you see blockchain, especially your offering, but blockchain in general, how it's changing the workforce and how it's going to change the workforce.
Yeah, so that's exactly what we're getting to. And supply chain is the very first demo that we have. And in the supply chain, it's a $15 trillion market. And there's issues that they're having. They need audibility all the way through, so that you who owns the car, if anything ever happens and the motor mount breaks, that you have immutable, transparent proof that that bolt that was put into there had the proper meteorological specs in order to be put in there. If not, then it's their fault and you can go after, right? So it's a matter of, and that's what you brought up, was General Motors. I can look at, and this is one of the things that the Internet of Things world, industrial IoT world and such are really looking for, and that is a full digital thread where I can see and follow and track the history of every single object, whether it be the raw materials, the cobalt coming out to make the batteries, the lithium batteries, or it be the rubber or the coal that's coming out. One of the projects that we were asked to advise on in China, Umxi, China, was to help reduce the emissions or the carbon footprint of a 750 megawatt coal-fired plant. And we found out the biggest problem was that the grade of coal that left the mine was not necessarily the grade of coal that got to the plant in China.
You don't say.
And the problem with that is if they don't know the composition, then they can't set the furnaces to the proper temperatures to burn the carbon at the right. And so they that it produces more. So there was it not huge, it was single percentage points, but if you're doing single percentage points on 750 megawatt plants and there's 550 of them in a country, you're really making a contribution to clean the air, right?
Are these companies receptive to this kind of transparent? This is transparency. Like you're basically saying, hey,
Yeah, that's like asking, are the taxi companies receptive to Uber? Right? This is coming.
Now, well,
no, they got to participate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the GM's got to say, yeah, we want to do this. I mean, they got it's one of two ways, right? They got to either appear like they're doing it. Hey, we care about the customers, right? Like they're not feigning, or they're actually genuine about doing it.
Yeah. So where that comes to is, first of all, for the especially the public companies, publicly traded companies and such to be involved, we have to have some sort of protection of their data, right? So that's where those zero knowledge snarks come in. Zero knowledge is the ability to the transaction is done. You know the transaction is done, but you don't know what the transaction was. It's encrypted. Right. All the data is encrypted. Right. So we can actually create in our design of our blockchain private chains on a permission chains on a public permissionless chain, and what they can do is share in a hash power, so they still have the same security of the full public chain without contributing the data of what those are. So yeah, that's one of the things that we've had to work on.
Okay,
Michael Holdmann, you are really a smart guy, and you've enlightened me and the audience, don't you think?
Yeah. I've enjoyed it.
Wow, I can't.
Thank you.
I can't think enough. But we've gone over a little. I want you to plug your event in October. Yeah, no.
Yeah. No, I'll mention it. Right.
Yeah,
so right now, because we have entered into the next phase of the development here, now that we've proven out the XBomb, we are building our test net right now of our native chain. We expect to launch in our first inaugural conference, which will be here in Las Vegas. The site is being chosen right now, and it's from October 21st to the 23rd, just before Money 2020, and we're going to do, it's called SagaCon. Hopefully you will be there. We're going to be doing hackathons. We're going to
You couldn't keep me away with the restraining order.
Yeah.
I'm coming.
We want these podcasts there, and we want everybody in Vegas to kind of come down and join in and understand. We're, like I said, we're a native company. We are a Swiss foundation, but my heart and everything, and we've got some other projects that we're doing here natively.
And there's
locally.
the opportunity to participate online.
Online, absolutely.
And I will put a link into SagaCon. Everybody who's listening or on YouTube, I'll put a link in the bottom for you guys to.
Perfect. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Anyhow, Michael Holdmann, thank you so much for coming on today. And so to Dave Hampton, Robo Recruiter. Wow, right?
Yeah. I'm excited.
And as you guys all know, I'm David James, the Job Whisperer. And remember, everybody, this has been about Crispo. This has been about Crispo. This has been about Crisco. But more importantly, it's been about crypto. And remember, everybody, I can't whisper.